Let me pull up my questions. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so kind of annoying.
It's the season. Like we're about to go through an Arctic frost tonight.
All right, you want to get started?
Yeah.
Where's your microphone? Is it on your headphones? I can't hear you.
Is that better?
Yes.
I had the wrong headpiece in.
Okay. No worries. So I'm going to roll into it, all right?
All right.
All right. Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Zola, a girl in recovery, and today we are joined by our guest star, Tabitha.
Hi.
So we're going to just do what we do with this Recover Out Loud series and talk about a plethora of cool shit, all pertaining to recovery, alcoholism, addiction, etc. A little background on Tabby. She is an Army veteran. She has served four tours. She's also working on a master's in social work. She has a bachelor's in psychology, and you're doing some kind of internship, correct?
I'm doing an internship this semester at the Boys and Girls Club of Fremont County.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it. I really think this series is going to help a lot of people. At least that's my hope. If not, it'll at least entertain a few. So I guess, first of all, drug of choice.
Alcohol. I was very much adamant about my alcohol. Anything else scared the shit out of me, actually. And I think the Army was the only reason I stayed away from heavier stuff.
Makes sense. Really does. I already know Tabitha's got about 6.5 years sober, but do you want to talk a little bit about why you got started, like the correlation between your life history and you?
I started drinking at 13 because my friends did, so I did, and from there it just spiraled out of control. My friends can go without it. I couldn't. One drink led to another. I was a blackout drinker. It felt great. I ain't gonna lie to you. Drinking was amazing. It was fun. It gave me the courage to talk to boys and do things I wouldn't normally do. But towards the end, it drove my life. I drank sober around 31. Yeah, because I'm 37 now. So I got sober about 31. So that entire time I drank, except for when I was pregnant with my son. I mean, I even drank on tour. So, and then I got an Article 15 for that. But I drank because I liked the effect that alcohol gave me. I always searched for that buzz. Like I felt that one good buzz, the minute you take that first drink and it literally courses all the way through your body, through your veins, and you can hit everything in your body and it all gets all warm and fuzzy. I would chase that the entire time, and I would overshoot the mark every time and black out, pass out, wind up places I didn't need to be. People were like, just have a couple of drinks. I'm like, okay. And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up again somewhere like, how did I get here? Where's my shoes? Where's my pants? Just, where am I? That was the fun part. Where am I?
And you get so mad at yourself too, because you're like, never again. And then again. Crazy.
Oh yeah. As soon as the hangover was over, or I learned to find better ways to drink. Like if I just had a couple beers, if I didn't mix my drinks, if I drank water in between each drink, if I took some Gas X to help my stomach process the carbonation. Like I tried so many different ways to drink and not have a hangover, so I'll be okay.
You tried so many ways to control it, to control the alcohol.
That too. Well, at that time, I was trying to control the hangover so that it would be okay for me to party the next night, especially when I was on active duty. And that's what we did. You get off a hard shift I was a military police and of everything that we've seen. And you're like, I can't deal with this.
Right.
And you drink. And then, the Army, we just drank, as young
you're
soldiers.
Overseas too. You're missing your family. I know part of it. You had to leave your baby for a long time.
Yes.
Like I imagine that would be really hard to cope with.
The second tour, that was my second tour after I had Rye. He was 4 months old when I deployed to Iraq. That's the one I got an Article 15 in. And I just drank for the effects of alcohol at that point. It was the only way to numb the hate of these people shooting at us, the hate that they took me away from my newborn, the hate. I had so much hate and anger. And, the first tour I drank because, why not? There wasn't a lot of stipulations or rules. It was a big initial invasion. And I thought it was cool at 18, 19 years old to be drinking with the boys. I was trying to be with the boys. And that's, it's like they're doing it, I'm trying to hang, but not knowing I was an alcoholic at the time. I had no idea.
Well, and you may not have been to full-blown alcoholism. There's the stages of it where it's like recreational, and then it turns into abuse, and then it turns into, I forget what the third one is, and then the fourth one is full-blown alcoholism or addiction.
Yeah, it started, it was very recreational, and we drank a lot in the initial invasion. At least my unit did,
binge and then abuse.
Yeah, and I did a binge a few times in high school. So I was working on controlling and not going that far. Then I just learned that once I'm blacked out, if I wake up from a blackout, just don't drink again, which was pretty easy. All I had to do was roll over and go back to sleep or take a shower. I usually passed out back in the shower. It was actually my favorite place to pass out until the water got cold. Afghanistan, my third tour, I got really bad when I found out that my ex-husband wanted a divorce. And of course, at that time I thought it was all him, not me. I didn't do anything wrong, but I had my parts in it, which we'll talk about later probably. And then I started drinking a lot. I was either all in, and it wasn't to drink to feel good. It was drink to just be numb and not part of it. And I came home and started drinking and partying like crazy when I didn't have my son with me. And when I had my son with me, it was wait till he went to sleep to drink. I thought if I drank wine, I'll be fine. And then I started just drinking to drink because I needed it to sleep. I used the excuse that it was to get rid of the nightmares, that it was the only way I can get a good night's sleep. It was all of that. And it just became, I had to drink. I didn't have the DTs or any of that. But as soon as I got off work from the prison, I was drinking, and I had my reasons. There was a major stabbing. There was a huge fight. There was whatever, She
used to work at the federal penitentiary, Lawrence Supermax. We're talking like Unabomber and El Chapo's house. Like she worked there after service, just so that connects some dots to what she's talking about.
Yeah, and then I went reserved after active duty, and then my last tour was Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and there is where I started working on trying to get sober. And I had quite a few blackout walk of shames, and my soldiers started losing respect for me, and I was losing respect for myself because I couldn't not drink. My drinking was out of control. I was doing walks of shame, and I'm not a quiet person when I'm drinking. And you could smell the alcohol on me and detainees, or soldiers, even if I showered, it doesn't matter. Like you're in humid ass weather and it's
coming out
hot,
of your pores.
So all you do is sweat. Yeah. And all I did was sweat alcohol. And I was not, the staff sergeant E6, and I had no respect from anybody because my drinking had brought me down so far, and I couldn't see it until another member of AA. It was really interesting on how how the lady did it. I don't have permission to give her name, but she started dropping those AA hints. Aren't you sick and tired of being sick and tired? And of course I wasn't thinking mentally, I was thinking physically. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Right.
Oh my God, yes. I felt horrible. I was one of those drinkers. Like I didn't lose weight drinking, I gained weight because if I ate more carbs, then it would soak up the alcohol and I can drink more.
Well,
so
alcohol, some of it is just pretty, like beer and stuff is pretty high calorie anyway. So yeah.
And I was drinking wine at the end, the 2 giant bottles of Moscato a night, the cheap Sutter Home stuff, because it was cheap and it did the job.
Do you want to introduce your dog?
This is my beautiful Belgian Malinois, Xena. She is 7 months old as of a couple days ago. And then there's another fluff ball. Yeah, she's still a baby. She's big though. But I fell in love with this breed when I was in the service. And she keeps me on my toes. It keeps me out of depression. It really does, because I can't lay in bed with her. I have to be up and moving. So she keeps me going and helps me too when my anxiety hits the roof from PTSD.
I feel like we've done enough of the how it was. What finally got you clean, and what do you do to maintain?
So what finally got me there was the lady that was deployed with me in Guantanamo Bay. She kept dropping those hints, and then one of my final drunks, because it took me a year to get sober. It took me a year of relapse after relapse after relapse to finally get sober. And I went out one night with a bunch of soldiers, younger soldiers, a brand new lieutenant, and I was supposed to be the DD. I was supposed to be the responsible one. We were drinking in El Paso, Texas, right next to the border. And the next thing I know, I'm passed out in a hotel room, no idea where my shoes or pants are, in the bathroom. I open the door thinking I'm in my hotel room because we are on a 4-day pass. And I walk out and everyone's passed out in the hotel room. So I'm talking private, sergeants, lieutenant, and I was the senior NCO. And I was really embarrassed because I didn't know where my pants were. I didn't know where my shoes were. And I didn't know what hotel I was in. And I'm like, what happened? How did we get here? Like, I was supposed to be sober. I went for one drink. I was going to have one drink. And that one drink, I don't know what happened after that. So I called that NCO. She was already in Gitmo and said, I can't do this anymore. How do I get sober? So the first thing is that you need to get back to base and don't drink. And then 2 days later, we landed in Gitmo and she took me to an AA meeting. Now, this was not my first AA meeting. I went to a few to learn how to drink. And then they told me I had to quit drinking. So I said, peace. And then I went back to say, okay, maybe I'm out of control. And they said, God. And I was like, no, we don't do God. And I said, peace. And I never went back. I started going to AA in Guantanamo Bay, which was really hard because there's a lot of drinking there. And it was really, really stressful. And I can't talk a lot about our mission there other than it was detainee operations, which everybody already knows. I could not stay sober there. It was a very small AA group, but I was at rock bottom. I was not, I wasn't respected by my chain of command. I wasn't respected by the soldiers, and I didn't respect myself. I hated everything about me, and I contemplated, when I was drinking, I contemplated suicide and tried quite a bit. I was so drunk, I forgot to put ammo in the gun. Mind you, I was law enforcement and Army, thank goodness I was too drunk to do that. But I was contemplating suicide again because I didn't know how not to drink, and I didn't know how to live without drinking. My final drunk was over a Bronco Raider game. I was hitting on this Navy guy, which come to find out he was gay. I ended up waking up next to a completely different Navy guy that it was a Coyote Ugly moment. And there was no way to chew off my arm and get out without him knowing, because I had no clue where my clothes were, because I lost my clothes a lot. Anyways, I went to my sponsor and I was like, I can't do this. She goes, and I can't sponsor you because you're not listening to I'm not what you need to be sober. But what I can do is order you not to drink until we get home. And when we get home and you're back in your state, you need to, as soon as you get off that plane, your family drives you to an AA meeting. And when you're in that meeting, you straight up say, I need a sponsor. I can't do this. And it was
where we met?
No, that was we met about a month after I came home. So we met around February, around this time frame, about 6 years ago.
Oh, it wasn't your first AA meeting. It was your first NA meeting.
It was NA meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
So I showed up to an AA meeting after a big fight with my sister. We almost went to blows, and I almost never went back because a guy tried to 13-step me. A guy was pushing hard for my number. And so, I called my ex-sponsor and she's like, go to a women's meeting. So when I came back here to Fremont County, I was in Denver. I went to a women's meeting. And in that meeting, I sat there angry as all get up. I was angry. And everybody's laughing around me. Like, how are you laughing? Like, this is not a laughing matter, And I just said, my name's Tabby. I'm an alcoholic. I've got less than 30 days and I need a sponsor. I can't do this. And then I sat there, arms crossed, pissed off, and just listened. And the lady next to me had just come home from Afghanistan. And she told me, she goes, hey, I need to do my 12-step work. I can't keep you sober. And if you decide to drink again, that's on you, but I need to do my 12-step. And she became my sponsor for 3 years. And then she PCS to Germany. She transferred to Germany. From there, it's been history. It hasn't been rainbows and stuff, as you know. It's been hard work. Mental struggles, learning how to go through the hardest things sober. But I was so close. If I didn't deploy and meet that lady, I would have lost my job, my security clearance. I would have lost my home, my son. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. Whatever penny I can find to pay for the alcohol, bringing random people into my home for rent. And of course they were drinking and drugging, and I wasn't caring about any of that. So it was a lifesaver to do that last deployment, even though I did 3 and 5 years, which is a lot of tours. But if it wasn't for that lady being there and helping me and firing me, actually, I think it was her firing me that woke me up, that like, I'm going to die if I don't do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my son. I will have nothing. And, you know, and for that lady, you know, my last sponsor, to stand up and go, hey, I just need to do my 12 step. If you stay sober, great, I'll help you, but I can't keep you sober. And I need to do this for me. It was an honesty thing. Like, it's not Tabby's world. It's not about me. Woo!
Right.
No, it's like, there's more to it than just me and what's going on. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And I like that. I think that's a great way to say it. And that's what I tell people when they want me to sponsor them. I say, I'm going to put as much work into this as you do. I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to beg you to do your step work. I'm not going to beg you to call me. I'll check in once in a while and make sure you're still alive. But when it comes down to it, that's on you.
The thing is like, I mentioned the God thing earlier that chased me out of the rooms. And it was a speaker I heard that explained it to me, that it's a God of my understanding. And it says that right on the board, right? Of your understanding. But I was so stuck in religion thinking, not spiritual, that I could not get past it. And it was where I was relapsing. I was relapsing on the 3rd step. Everyone relapses on the 4th. No, I relapsed on the 3rd. Because my brain is science.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of meetings out there where people don't understand the of your understanding concept too. And I think that's where a lot of people get a bad taste in their mouth, because they go into these meetings and it's all religion, not spirituality. And it can really chase a lot of people away.
God is just an overall term that we use. And our big book is very adamant about our understanding, and not a religious experience, a spiritual. And so when I see newcomers in the meeting and everyone's beating them on the head, you know, like, we're not supposed to be talking at the newcomer. We're supposed to be, let's have our experience as in home so he can see, or she can see, what the hell is happening. You know, I try to tell them, I go, don't let God chase you out of the rooms. I go, because that's not what this program is. We're not religious, we're spiritual. And we're not asking you to be spiritual right now. We're just asking you to not pick up a drink today, and we'll help you get the rest of the way. That way we're not chasing them out of the room.
Yeah, no, because I mean, even me with almost 7 years, as soon as somebody starts getting in my face being like, this is what you need to do, I'll straight up walk out. I don't care. It's like, I don't need you to tell me what to do. I need you to tell me how you did it. And if you haven't done it, maybe let somebody else speak and you can learn something. And that it really frustrates me. But I think in any group of people, you're going to have those, boom, you know,
Absolutely.
People are going to butt heads. You're going to have people with the God complex. You're going to have, it's a group that otherwise would not mingle, or however that phrase goes.
And we are not a people that mix, but the great thing is that, you know, love and tolerance is our watchwords. And the thing is like, I think I was in my first year. I think a lot of us within our first year are really, really cocky. Like, I got this. I'm sober. I'm pulling.
I gotta save everyone.
Yeah, let's pull them off the bar stools and take the pipe out of their hand and let's do this.
Right.
And it was, you know, somebody that, I can't even remember who it was. They're just like, I can't do this. How are you? What's the solution? How do I not pick up that drink? And I was like, you gotta go through the steps. And they never came back. And then I started realizing that, what was it like when I came in the rooms? I didn't want you to look at me. I didn't want you to talk to me. I didn't want you to touch me. I just wanted to know how you're able to stay sober one day at a time, sometimes just 1 second at a time. And once I started remembering what it was like for me, I started to treat the newcomer the same way. And after the meeting, I tell them, welcome, here's the meeting. Here's my number. I just try to tell them that the only way you're going to get sober and clean is if you keep coming back, and just try not to pick up that drink.
So what have you tried that didn't work?
Tried just not drinking. That was hard. I became really angry, irritable, and discontent. Of course, I didn't know what that was. I lost family members to alcoholism, and I still didn't see that I was an alcoholic. So, you know, I tried switching from beer to alcohol to wine, because I made sure that I had 8-ounce cups with me to drink in between, and stopping at a certain time and only drinking on certain days and all of that. And, you know, at the end, it didn't matter. No matter what, I'd go find the liquor. I credit the Army for not having DTs or any of that. not having the shakes when I got sober. I really do, because of all the trainings where we go and you can't have alcohol.
Right.
There is no access to it. I can't go back to base. I'm out, I'm 30 miles out in the field with no transportation.
That's kind of like with in Kodiak, where I'm from, a lot of the fishermen, they come back to town, they get these huge checks, and they just blow it all on booze and drugs. But then they go back out to the Bering Sea where there's nothing, no booze, no drugs, so you can't get anything. And so I think like it's almost like it's good, but it's almost a disservice sometimes, because then they can't realize the full effect or the full depth of their addictions.
And I was too scared. To bring it with me to the field. Even more scared after I got that Article 15 in Iraq. Out there for a while, I was drinking NyQuil or Robitussin, trying to get that effect, and getting in trouble in the military or getting in trouble, period, scared me. I can honestly say I have yet to have a DUI. I have yet to be arrested. And it's yet, because, every day is not promised in my sobriety. And, while you're out in the field, you're like, okay, I gotta be healthy. Like deployments, I love deployments, because then I can get back into that basic training shape, and I'm gonna get healthy, and I'm just going to focus on the mission. And then after a while, you're like, oh my God, I can't sleep. I need something. I can't feel, it's like, there was a lot. So I tried almost everything other than rehab. I never did that. I got lucky.
So is there anything you want to just say to anybody who's still struggling? I do have quite a few veterans that watch this, but then also civilians too. So, feel free to make it as broad or as specific as you want.
Honestly, is ask for help. There is really cool apps that have AA meetings and NA meetings, and if you're active duty military, all you have to do is go to your chain of command and tell them that you're having a hard time and you need help before it's too late.
About the people that are too scared to do that?
It's a non-judgment. And that's the thing, is if you go ahead of time, this is what a lot of people don't take advantage of. If you go ahead of time before it gets too serious and say, I have a problem, I need help, they put you in the programs and it doesn't affect you. It shouldn't. There is supposed to be absolutely no blackwalling to go about it. And the biggest thing that has changed right as I got out, I was medically retired, 2017, 2018?
That sounds about right. I think 17.
And the military was pushing really hard to let people know that getting help for substance abuse and mental health is okay, and that we will help you and get you what you need.
No, and that's one thing that cracks me up. Like, I've met a few people who are like, oh, I can't go to meetings because if my ex finds out, they'll use it against me in court. I'm like, so you're not worried about him finding out about your drug use or your alcoholism and using that in court. You're worried about him using the fact that you're going to meetings against you. Like, no, that is a good thing to show in court.
Yeah.
Like, that
judges love it.
They love it. The justice system loves to see people actually making an effort and doing something to help themselves. And I think it cracks me up because I've heard that excuse so many times from multiple people, and they're just afraid to get help because they're ashamed or they're afraid it's going to be used against them. And it's like, no, actually it's quite the opposite. If you don't get help and you have a problem, that's what's going to be used against you, not the fact that you're doing something to better yourself.
And I've seen amazing service members go out with DUIs. I mean, in the MP Corps, DUIs, you lose your job as an MP. You have to reclassify. And the thing is that there's help out there. If you don't want your chain of command to know, they don't have to. There's resources, and they're really easy to find. They're briefed all the time. But the thing is, though, is that when you realize that you're at your bottom, you don't know you're at your bottom. If it wasn't for AA, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have been part of the 22 and the 22 service members that commit suicide a day. And you're a witness to this, is that it got much worse when I got sober. But
for a while it did.
But I continue to get help. I reached out for help. I found every single resource that I can possibly get to help me. I was going to counseling. I was taking the medications, prescribed medications like they're ordered.
Right.
I did a 7-week retreat, inpatient program, because I didn't realize how severe my PTSD had gotten, how bad my anxiety was. until I got sober. And it wasn't even the first year. It's when that fog cleared out, about 18 months, 2 years. And then I realized, sorry, they're playing.
It's okay.
I finally realized that alcohol wasn't going to solve the problem. It was masking it, that I had to do something about it. And I was scared that my ex-husband would use that as a reason to take my son because my PTSD, not my drinking. Not that I was in AA. Like, he was glad I went to AA, and like that amends was like the easiest amends I had. And that was the scariest one, you know, admitting my faults in the marriage,
right.
That caused the divorce. But was saying I have severe PTSD and anxiety. I'm on the border of agoraphobia, which is a fear of leaving my home. Because all I did was put myself in scenarios. Like, if I'm going here and something happens, how do I do this? This guy's wearing this, which means he's probably part of this gang. And look at this tattoo, you know. I was like, I need help. And it was you and the women in the program that said, Tabby, we got you. We will be there if he tries to take to court. We got your back. You need to do this, and you can do this sober. And I wanted to drink when I was there, but I
remember you would call me and be like, you'd be like, this bitch is just, I'm gonna punch her, and I'd be like, Tabby, go for a walk.
Right. And so I found, once I was able to leave the Dom, because you can't leave for the first 2 weeks, I went and hit meetings everywhere. And I stayed in contact, and I found that through sobriety gave me the strength to reach out and get the help I needed, and to admit that I couldn't handle the stuff that I've been through. I couldn't handle the sexual assaults. I couldn't handle the combat, the violence, the blood, the gore. I couldn't handle it anymore, and I needed help. And I could not say that when I was drinking, because alcohol masked it for me. So it was great in the beginning of sobriety. It got rocky.
That pink cloud.
The pink cloud. And then now that I have resources, I have a program, you know, I don't just go to AA once in a blue moon. You know, I have a sponsor, I'm sponsored, or I sponsor, and I work my program. I go to 3 to 4 meetings a week. I have a service position while I'm in school. I chair the Sunday meeting. There is a solution. There's a solution to our PTSD. There's a solution to our drinking. There's a solution to our drugs. You know, you mentioned that we met in NA, because my sponsor told me to try NA as well. She told me to experience it. It may be for me or may not be for me. And I found that I related both ways, even though I had yet to do anything, because who knows if I would have continued drinking.
Your first meeting though, you were like,
oh, I was.
I don't belong here.
and that's how
you met me. You're the greatest person in your life. No.
But that was also where I learned to be non-judgmental and non-biased. I was becoming very racist, a very big bigot, all of that from working in the prison for so long. And I'll say it, being able to see that we can recover, we do recover. But I tell people, it's like, I went from being law enforcement to having friends with felonies, great friends that I trust.
Tattoos,
Falsely tattooed, you know, that has a key to my house, that picks up my son. That I learned that people can change if they're willing to change, and you got to be willing. And one thing I want to, really one of the last things I want to say about the program, 2 things. One is, don't get tripped up on God. It's just a word that we use because it's all encompassing.
Right.
And meaning makers don't make it. People who do the program, do the work, make it. I've seen so many people with 30-something years who came to meetings all the time, but they weren't working a program. They weren't doing the things, and they went back out and drank. I've seen how many people, Zola, have we seen that come in that are court order to come in, they do the meetings. They come to meetings for a good 6-7 months, but every time after the meeting, they go out and drink or and they tell us that nothing has to change, but everything has to change. Right. And I was so worried about hurting people because I'm a people pleaser. Like, how do I make you happy? Let me help you. You know, I didn't have boundaries. And I was so worried about hurting people's feelings. And they went away on their own. I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. They just kind of buy. When you quit buying and quit supplying and quit showing up to those things, or you start changing, and then they're like, you're not the same person. And I'm like, good. There's another lady in the program, and you know her, Lindsay, because we are allowed to say her name. She has the best saying, and nothing we say in the program is originally ours. Like, but she says best thing, AA does not own the cornerstone of sobriety.
You want to try that again? I'll edit out the other one.
No, let people have a good laugh. But we don't
Okay.
we don't like AA and NA are not the only ways to get sober and stay
Right.
sober. And if you read in our literature, it talks about that not all of us are alcoholics. We're just a drunk. And once we put down that drink, we're okay. And so when somebody asks, am I really an alcoholic? I talk about the allergy and the obsession.
Right.
If once you have that first drink, can you put it down, or do you obsess about it because you're trying to put it down? Then maybe, and we'll talk. I don't get to designate who's an alcoholic. And I know that as going into a social worker, once I have my license, I can, but I'm going to still live the principles of AA that I can't designate if you're an alcoholic. I can just offer you. It is. But the help is there. And if we work for you, great. If we don't, I really hope you the best recovery possible, however you find it. Yeah. But it's not just getting sober, but it's also cleaning up the wreckage and, changing our behaviors. And that's the hardest. I thought drinking was the hardest thing. It was changing my thinking, changing my behaviors.
Because the manipulation is still there. The control issues are still there. The lying, the shame, the guilt, all of that is still there.
It is.
And it comes back all the time. It's like, it's a constant struggle. It's so irritating.
But if you're
perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I want that sainthood. Like another lady in the program says all the time, I'm this close to sainthood, and she's been in the program 50 something years. I'm like, when are you going to reach sainthood? She goes, when I die.
I don't want to be a saint. I did some research on Mother Teresa, and she was not really a very good person. So that's all we could talk about that another time, though. Yeah. It's worth a Google.
But one thing I want to tell people, though, is like, just because you quit drinking, okay, so there's a lot of things I want to tell people, let's be real. Just because you quit drinking doesn't mean the wife is coming back, the kids are coming back, the job's coming back, the house is coming back, your sanity's fully back, but you get a reprieve to be able to continue to work on it and build it. We drink our way into our situations, into the lack of trust, the lack of love, the lack of anything. It's going to take us working and continuing to keep our behaviors to get that trust back. It doesn't stop. If you want a quick fix, you're not going to get one in addiction.
And in the beginning, like I made recovery my whole life, because I had to for a really long time. And of course, now I've branched out. I still do this YouTube channel. I still do meetings, not very often because we're in the middle of a global pandemic, but my entire Twitter is Zola, a girl in recovery. I have branched out. I work in healthcare. I dye my hair purple. I'm very much a political activist. I do a lot of different things now, but still kind of at my core, that's my main thing, because I built such a good life. I went from homeless and jobless, dying from a chronic disease, to cured and married and in a nice home, driving a nice car, with a career with like full benefits and a retirement plan. Like, it's super weird.
And a degree. You have a degree.
Oh, I have 2 degrees. That's right.
Yeah. Don't forget that. So, you went from not graduating high school. I mean, like, you are... Lindsay loves bragging about you. She won't tell you, but I'll tell you. She loves it because your success is like, you went from all of that to having 2 degrees, putting yourself through college, working, taking care of a husband who has a severe illness that literally can just take him to his knees and can't walk at times. You guys are the prime example of it. Like, I love bragging about Adam as well, because Adam went from him and I would talk about how he would purposely set off the guards just to get some exercise, and now him and I are driving to meetings together. I asked him, when you guys were here, him and Ryan would sit there and play and watch Broncos together. And I think that's one reason why I moved to social work and decided to go ahead and get my master's, because I don't need to have another job. I'm medically retired from both the prison and the Army. I'm set, but I'm not fulfilled yet, if that makes sense. I went into law enforcement because I wanted to help people, and I don't feel I got to do that. And so seeing yours and Adam's story come back from nothing, literally nothing. You guys couldn't get a job, apartments, nothing. to GD, 2 degrees, a career in healthcare. You know, he's able to live and not worry about anything. Volunteer, like he was volunteering at the library here, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I was like, I'm like, we can make a difference and we can't label people. And that's why I chose to go back to school, even though sometimes I make my head, like right now studying for midterms, I'm like, why am I doing this? Because I see it and people just need the help and realize that the hand is there. I just want people to be able to do better.
Yeah.
And I think that we all have a right to do better, and we are allowed to change. And I talked about this on my YouTube channel about being allowed to change. That you can say that this is who I was, but what about now? Can I not change my behaviors? Can I not change the way I acted and learn morals and learn values and learn how to be a decent human being? Isn't that what we're always asking people to do? And that's what I don't like about the revolving circle of the prison. And I'll try not to go too much into social work. The revolving door in prison is that we don't give them the opportunity to actually make a change. We're not giving them the tools to do that. I still want to help people. I want to stop that revolving door. And the only way to stop that revolving door is helping and being honest. And working as a correction officer, I didn't see that. As I was being retired out of the prison, they started bringing in the reentry program, and they're actually, they were starting to help shut down the revolving door, but there's not enough people there to help. I think it's so important for people, even if AA or NA is not your gig, is to go to a meeting a couple times, because you're going to see recovery. You're going to see people who are bottom of the social totem pole who have climbed up to the top. And then you're going to see super successful people, lawyers, doctors, judges, senators.
And that is one thing too. It helps you reintegrate into society. Meetings do often, and not all meetings are created equal. I will give it that. But if you don't like one, there's always another. But I was friends with consultants, people in various levels of the military, the prison, lawyers, doctors, nurses. Alcoholism and addiction does not discriminate at all. I just even had a songwriter that I used to for big Paramount movies that I used to house sit for, and people would be like, "How do you know these people?" I'm like, "I can't tell you."
We have a mutual friend. And life doesn't end because we have an addiction and stuff. My past behaviors doesn't condone your current behaviors. I get to change.
Exactly.
I am changed. Let me prove to you through my actions, not my words, because as an alcoholic, I spew the best lines ever, but I never follow through.
That brings up a really important point. Like, just because you're guilty of doing something in the past does not mean you can't champion against it now. Like, absolutely. I've driven drunk, and I am absolutely against drunk driving. I used to be a very toxic and manipulative person, and now I will call you out on that shit if I see it.
And you take it pretty well yourself. And it was funny because I had this conversation before I got out of the military. I was the acting first sergeant, and underage drinking was my gig, especially in the military. And I told the commanders, like, I don't feel right disciplining these kids when I did the same thing. She goes, we all do stupid stuff, but if we continue to allow it to happen, nothing's going to change or get better.
Yeah.
And I can only be helpful too, is if I'm still sober and I'm working a program.
Bingo.
And I can ask for help and not be ashamed anymore. It was right after my miscarriage. As soon as I could, I was in the meetings.
I remember.
And it wasn't just being in the meetings room. It was on the phone with alcoholics. It was on the phone with people in recovery, because they're the only ones that can keep me from picking up that drink.
Yeah.
And that's where I stayed. And that's how I got through a hard thing.
You get to know these people and you build relationships, and it's just like we become family. And when one of us hurts and when one of us suffers, like we all do. And I remember when you went through that, and it was just like it was a hard time for everybody, because we, not to take away from you, I know it was the worst for you, but it was just like, how can we be there for her? How can we help her? And it's just, you sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just have to be there. That's it. That's all you can do.
Recently, my fiance broke his neck. It was never about me. It was, okay, Saul, what do we do for you? What's the next step? How do we do this? Like, I rearranged everything. But the one thing that I made sure I did was like, okay, so I'm going to be with him, or where's the meetings near his house?
Cool.
But I was on the phone with another alcoholic. Okay, this is what happened. This is what we're doing to make sure that I didn't spin out of control either, because it does affect us. I was there for a couple of your crazy surgeries and things and other people, and I get to be there. My new favorite thing to say is like when somebody calls me, like when you called me to tell me that Adam had fallen, when you guys were still here in Colorado, the thing I remembered, what do you need from me? And before it would have been, oh my God, my friend fell and I feel so bad. And oh my God, me. Somehow I spin it to
Let me make a Facebook post so I can get attention.
Yes, I don't do that too much. You know, I did get called out by my trainer because she says I was being too fake. You know, I do this thing called Good Coffee Chronicle Mornings. And I just vent or say random stuff that's on my mind. There's a lot of cuss words in there. I try to change my social media to upbeat, helpful, happiness, and not well me, because that's where I used to sit. I used to say, oh my God, I'm pathetic. My life sucks. It's horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I stopped doing that. And then I got called out and she was like, you're being fake. She goes, you don't have to be woe me all the time, but you also can't help people if they don't know that you're suffering yourself. It's knowing the boundary. And when things are really bad for me, I stay off social media and I reach out. When I'm really in my shit, I really reach out to a certain female Facebook group, and it's for veterans of MST, military sexual trauma. And when I'm really in my shit and I can't get out of it, the nightmares are bad, the flashbacks are bad, and everything reminds me of stuff, I reach out to them and I post on there, because that's what that group is for.
Right, because they've been through what you've been through, and they can help walk with you through it.
But I will post once in a blue moon, I am not okay right now on Facebook. But I want to remind people that it's okay not to be okay, right, and that there's resources and I am getting help. And I love when I get feedback that says, thank you for saying that, because I forget that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay sometimes, but it's not okay to stay there. Even with years of recovery, we still have things that happen in our lives, and it's not all unicorns. There's still bankruptcies, there's still loss of jobs, there's still health problems, but they become manageable and we don't have to do them alone. And that's the one thing is when I was drinking, you know, like no one came over. When I was actually trying to kill myself and I posted on social media, no one believed me because I cried wolf so many times and I was usually drunk off my ass. Now, if I say, I think I want to harm myself, I have 5 women at the door ready to help me. And what's really crazy, Zola, and you could attest to this, that prior to coming into this program, and I think for the first year or so, we weren't really friends for the first 6 or 7 months that I came back to Colorado.
Yeah.
We're quite, because I didn't get along with other women. But now
all other women are bitches, and then you realize, like, no, they're not. It was you.
It was me, and men
like,
gossip.
there are some cool ass women out there.
Absolutely, and
they just don't want to be around you.
And men gossip just as bad as women. And the thing is I was always competing with other women. Mm-hmm. So if you were prettier than me, or skinnier than me, or your skin was better than mine, or you did your makeup better than me, you were the enemy. And now I'm just like, I see these 2 new girls at the gym, they're bigger girls, and I see them and I'm gonna go, yes, I'm so happy to see you here. Right. Keep it coming. You know, when I see people, and I just love being able to talk to women and have women in my life and know that we're doing this together.
Yeah. I'm like, hey girl, what eyeliner do you use? Because that's on point. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like
let's raise each other up. The world tears us down enough.
One great thing is that I'm slowly, and I lose it, it comes back and goes, it ebbs and flows, like you said, is we gain self-worth again.
Yeah.
And you talked about that before.
For the first time, because quite honestly, I don't think I ever had it. There was no again. I don't think I ever had self-worth.
Like I started undervaluing the things I've done in my life. And it wasn't until you had asked me to come speak to your club. And then I saw the write out. I'm like, holy crap, I've done a lot of things.
I was in a sociology and criminology club when I was at university, and Tabitha came and spoke to my club, and we put out all her accomplishments and everything, you know, that she's done. And I think that was the first time you ever saw yourself on paper from somebody else's point of view.
And I think my biggest accomplishment outside of being a mom, because I had a really hard time getting pregnant, is my sobriety. That is my biggest accomplishment, because that was one of the hardest things to get over. But getting sober was the hardest thing, because it wasn't just quitting the drink, it was changing my life. And I thought I would be alone, you know, like, oh, I can't quit drinking yet because I got a wedding to go to. My son had a cake at his first birthday. That's how my drinking was.
It happens. Yeah.
It does. And now I was like, I can't quit drinking because I got this event or that event. I can't quit drinking because of this or that. And then I was like, I am going to be alone and bored, and I'm not going to be able to go out to clubs and dance. I have so much fun being sober. Like I've learned love and tolerance being sober. I learned to have fun being sober. Sobriety has been hard, but wonderful.
Well, shoot, I don't know how long we've been going, but I do feel like this
either.
is going to take forever to edit. It's fine, though. I have a whole week to do it. I just want to say thank you again for agreeing to do this. I really do appreciate it. I think it's so good to see your face. I miss you. I miss Colorado. I miss my recovery family there. I really do. It's been hard moving in the middle of a pandemic. So getting back into my YouTube channel has really just been extremely helpful and very therapeutic.
Oh, she wants to say hi. The other one wants to say hi.
Hi, BB. I remember when she was
this one's I know. And she's in her winter fur when she looks like a wolf, and then the summertime she looks like a bear cub. I appreciate you bringing me on here. It reminds me of it just reminds me to stay humble. And it was so great to see you. It's been so long, and I plan on coming out to Washington too once this is done and I'm done with grad school.
Very beautiful.
And to see the girls, I miss the girls.
Yeah,
I miss the girls.
I miss you too.
All right, guys.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to have yet another guest star from a completely different background. And, you know, it's just, I'm really tired because it's almost my bedtime. But take this opportunity to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. That would be much appreciated. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And don't forget to follow Tabby. What is your YouTube channel called?
It's Coffee Mom Veteran.
All right. I love you, girl. Have a great night.
Coffee Mom Veteran. All right. Thanks, Stella. I love you.
Bye.